Hello, this is Sonia Straubinger with number 2 in my video series, and this is aimed towards loan processing. That was the topic that we had the most feedback on, and today we're going to talk about how to manage a pipeline, and we're going to cover 3 gamuts of pipelines. I find that most processors have either 20 to 30 files in their pipeline, and this is all assuming you're closing 15 to 20 a month. So carrying 20 to 30, closing 15 to 20 is virtually turning every loan within 30 days. That I find is the most common, especially with smaller mortgage companies. And then the next one is carrying 40 to 50, and again, still closing the 15 to 20. And that 40 to 50 I find is most common with larger mortgage companies. I've worked for 3 or 4 bank-owned mortgage companies. I've worked for a couple of independent mortgage companies, and I've worked for a couple of large national mortgage companies. So the 40 to 50, again, closing the 15 to 20 a month. We're going to talk about how to manage that. And then we're going to also talk about how to manage the big number. And often if you're in a call center environment or in the throes of a refinance boom, or some sort of ramping up, you could be looking at carrying, 90 or more files. So when you're carrying in that elusive 100-ish number of files, there's a different way to manage that pipeline. So we're going to cover all 3 today, and I've got a 10-minute timer going. So the first one we're going to cover is what I feel is probably the strongest and most common, especially with the top 10 mortgage companies. So these aren't the big bank-owned. Typically, they're going to be your smaller, independent mortgage companies that are really kicking butt and taking names. The processors there are typically going to carry 20 to 30 files, and they're going to be closing 20-ish files a month, which virtually means you've got to touch every customer every other day, okay? Now, there's a couple themes with pipeline management. Themes that I will talk about constantly. The first theme is make every touch count. Okay, METC. It doesn't really have an acronym, but make every touch count. That is so important. I find when I look at organizations and the process and how the customer gets from coming in to fulfillment to getting either handed off to closing or the CD issued, however your process works, I find the most repetition and inefficiency, usually through repetition, in that area. So make every touch count. If you looked at a file this morning, you shouldn't get a call this afternoon to ask what's going on with it. Because when you looked at the file this morning, you would have made that touch count, and you would have not only looked at all things needed on that file, updated the LOS system as needed for that file, made some sort of a note within that file that tells everyone what's going on, what we need, and where we're at with each thing we need. You would have also updated the customer, and you would have also updated the loan originator. So make every touch count. If you're going back to a file later that day that you worked on in the morning, then I would say we didn't make that touch count. So that's one theme. The other theme is to use your tools. Okay, we've got an age here of electronics that is bar none so far, other than tomorrow. But we've got so many tools at our fingertips, and whether you're old school or new school, millennium, or somewhere in between, like most people are, using a little bit of both, use everything you can to help you manage your pipeline. That means if you're in, Google Suites, learn how to use those. You're in Outlook, learn how to use it. Use your calendar. Use an electronic calendar. If you must use a paper calendar, I'm really okay with either, and I've seen both used with great success, but use a calendar. And you've got to make sure that someone else has access to it. Okay, if you use Excel, be careful about using Excel, because usually the LOS system will have some sort of a pipeline built in that you can use. If you need to use Excel, I usually find it's because you want to have a little one-liner note of where you're at with what's left on the customer's loan file. And for that, it can be very useful. but try to post it to a SharePoint or somehow share it within your organization because you need someone else to be able to get to it. You wake up the next morning and you're sick, someone in your family is sick, something has come up and you cannot get to work. And I know all of you processors out there are saying, I never miss a day. I haven't been sick in 3 years. Well, the time will come and there will be one reason or another when you can't get to work. And that will be the exact moment in time when something is really, really needed on your file. So make sure that you've got that Excel, you share it with someone. There's someone that you either email it to every day or there's a SharePoint you post it to every day. Use your calendars, use reminders, tickle systems, color coding. If you have, files in a drawer, you can use the tickler system. There's a lot of ways you can maximize that, but do use your tools. Learn them. Try to learn a new tool every month. All right, so the 20 to 30, I'll call it the sweet spot because really, if you've got 20 to 30 and you're closing 15 to 20 a month, you're doing a good job. You're turning your pipeline. Your company's doing a good job because there's not a lot of fluff in there. It's really all loans that are closing with the exception of the little bit of fallout that we typically have in any given circumstance. So touching every file, every customer's file, every 2 days really, means that if you've got 30 files, you need to touch 90 a week. And if you've got 20 files, you need to touch 60 a week. So let's call it 15 customers every day you need to touch. Okay, 15 customers every day. That means you really have got to break it down and you've got to do that in a number of ways. Now, there's LOS systems that are very intuitive. And they can allow you to sort your pipeline in different ways. There's also printing of your pipeline and being able to literally make a hash mark on every customer that you touch. You've got to be able to touch each customer every other day. So I would say if you want to start trying this, you can start it today. Today happens to be, let's say it's a Friday. Okay, it's a Friday. At the end of the day today, print out your pipeline from your LOS system or from your Excel file. Print it out. Yes, I do believe in some paper, and I realize that it has customer-sensitive information, so you have to lock it in your drawer when you leave. But print out your pipeline, okay, your 25, let's call it, loans. Take a highlighter, and I recommend a different color for every day of the week. Okay, let's say Monday's purple. Get yourself colored highlighters if you don't have them. Take your purple highlighter. Now, it's Friday, the end of the day. You kind of know what you need to do on Monday. You probably already have a few things that maybe you didn't get to today that you should have or wished you would have. Those will be your first things that you mark. And what I want you to do is not highlight the whole name of the customer, but just make a mark in the first letter of their name. So if Straubinger, just highlight that S with your purple highlighter. Do the same for the customers that you know you need to work on Monday. Again, start with what you didn't get to today or things that happened late in the day, like you're just getting ready to leave and how many times you go to close your email and right when you're closing it, you see something pop up and it's something like the customer's docs or an appraisal has come in or something. So mark those right now for Monday. Now think of the customers that you know you need to look at Monday because maybe you didn't look at them today or yesterday. Maybe you know something's due in on them and you didn't follow up on it today, or you know it should be coming in over the weekend or on Monday. Mark those. Now, you should be marking, again, we're looking at roughly 15 customers a day. So anywhere in that 12 to 18 range is what you want to have highlighted. Again, just the first letter, okay? Now look at what you've got. Now it's Friday, it's the end of the day. Now if you have 12 or less, you're in pretty good shape, right? You may have much less. Now, if you have much less, then you can maybe text or IM or email or get up and go see your manager and let them know, hey, I was just setting up Monday and it looks like I'm in pretty good shape. In fact, I might have some spare time. If you've got anything you need me to help with, let me know. That goes a really, really long way because there could be somebody else that's not in the same place as you and you could help them, which would help you and them, and your career, and your manager. All good things. Now, if you've got too many highlighted, if you've already got more than 18 highlighted. Now you want to think about the end of the day. Do you really need to leave now? Is it possible you could ask your manager to stay later? Is it possible you could ask your manager if you can work this weekend? I've just been looking at my setup for Monday, and I've got a lot more than I'm going to be able to get done on Monday. I'd like to be able to come in for a few hours on Saturday and work on X, Y, and Z. 9 times out of 10, that's going to get you the okay for the overtime. So consider doing that. Maybe you're already planned up for the weekend and you can't do that. That's fine. Now let's think about Monday. Is it possible you could come in early Monday? Is it possible you could stay late Monday? Consider making those arrangements now with your manager, getting the approval, with your family, whatever arrangements you need to make. And that way you'll have extra time on Monday to fit in all those customers. Now we get to Monday, and as you work on each customer, making each touch count, updating the customer each time, okay, whether it's email, phone, however you're set up with them, updating the loan officer each time, updating your system each time, doing all the tasks that are needed on that loan, making a full loan note, hopefully with a template that's easy to read. Please don't copy and paste an email into notes. Use an actual template that says all the things that are needed and where you're at with each one, when they're expected, what you've done to get them. So you're updating the customer, the loan officer, the LOS system with each touch, and see how you do on Monday. And we're going to talk next time about the middle of the road 50 loans, still closing 15 to 20, and also the big 100 loans. We're going to talk about that next time. So meanwhile, let me know. Leave me a comment. Let me know how this goes. Make every touch count, and have a great week.